Okay, welcome to our talk on wildlife safety with dogs in the outdoors, as well as pet safety and pet first aid in the outdoors with Lisa, and Sarah's here as well. And we are going to get started. And I'm just going to do a section really on dogs when you're in the outdoors, and what can we do and how can we manage our dogs more safely, and some of the research that's kind of showing us that we really do need to learn about this stuff because people are getting hurt and dogs are getting hurt when they're heading outdoors. And as I was saying just before I started recording, there was just a bear attack on a dog, unfortunately, in Jasper National Park a couple weeks ago, and the dog did not survive, and the bear was tracked down and shot. So, which was really upsetting for everybody, the owners, the officers who had to do it. All right, we're going to jump in here. So, hiking with dogs and pet first aid. As always, we like to remind you, please don't sue us. We are trying to do our best to teach you about these amazing animals, but they are unpredictable sometimes, and we can get into wrong place, wrong time scenarios, and we've just got to use our best information that we can get, which is out there, what we have at RecSafe. Parks Canada has great information. WildSmart has great information, and we want you to learn about this stuff so that you can do the best for yourself when you head outdoors, and you've got all the right stuff on you to try to avoid this stuff in the first place, but of course prepared for what to do if something does happen. We do have a class sometimes that we run. We talk about what's called the 10 essentials for hiking safely in nature. Highly recommend you look this up. These are things that you have on you for a 1-hour hike to a 5-day hike. It doesn't matter. You always want to have these safety tools on you in case something goes wrong and you're stuck there. And this will help to keep you going until emergency services can get to you. We are a proud sponsor of Leave No Trace Canada, and as members, we really want to promote people to do the right thing by nature. And when you head outdoors, there is so much you can do to reduce your impacts on it. And if you go and check out Leave No Trace's website, they are a Canadian nonprofit and charity in Canada, and they also have courses, and they can teach you all about the principles for reducing your impacts on nature. I just met them actually at the conference, which was pretty cool that I was just at. And then I thought we'd start off with an example of what it can look like when your dog runs ahead of you and runs into a bear. This is generally what we see. A lot of the incidents, the dog smells a bear or smells something interesting, runs ahead of the owner, and then ends up running up on a bear with cubs or a bear on a carcass, or just scares the bear, and then the bear feels defensive, and they're like, oh, I got to protect myself or my babies or my food source, and then they chase the dog, and inevitably, what do our dogs do? They come running back to us, right? And unfortunately, this usually leads to an attack on the person. You're probably going, why is the bear attacking this person? And it's because this bear has now seen another threat and has to neutralize it, right? She's standing there, she's waving a stick around. The bear got scared and was like, oh my gosh, there's two of them. I've got to stop this. I've got to, of course, neutralize the threat. It looks like she wasn't that badly injured, but we are absolutely seeing more cases of people getting hurt, and in some cases severely mauled and even killed. And also dogs running back and then also getting injured and killed too. This video won't play for me in here, but I will throw this up on our Facebook page afterwards. This is an incident that happened in Canmore, Alberta. Some folks were paddle boarding, and they were just amazed. They're like, oh my gosh, there's a black bear and it's swimming across the water. And it had nothing really to do with them. He was just like trying to get from A to B. And as he comes up onto the shoreline, all of a sudden, there's a dog coming running, and it's off leash, and it probably smelled the bear. Bear didn't know that the dog was there, and then they end up having an altercation. And the owner is, of course, like just screaming her lungs out, trying to get her dog to come back, and she can't get her dog to come back to her, unfortunately. The dog ends up chasing the bear away, and the dog did not get hurt. So very, very fortunate in that incident. So why is this stuff important? You know, there's so many articles in the news where you'll hear dog saves person from bear attack, dog saves person from cougar attack. And those headlines are awesome and they sound amazing. And we, of course, we're like, yay, you know, Lassie saves the day, right? Or the littlest hobo, right? And there's lots of movies where dogs are heroes, right? And so we all want to believe that our dogs are going to be heroes and they're going to save us in an encounter with a threat. And yes, I mean, some of us, I mean, I got one tough cookie of a dog, but sometimes I wonder, would she just lick a person to death? I don't know. I'm not sure. So the reality is that that carnivores and dogs just don't mix, because our dogs are 98.9% wolf, okay? And two carnivores that are out there, they can look at them and go, oh my gosh, it's another carnivore, I've got to defend myself, or I've got to defend my territory, or I see them as a prey species, I'm going to go after them. So they definitely can be viewed as a threat and as a food source. Bears that get harassed by dogs may perceive other dogs as a threat. And years ago, we had this beautiful black bear that lived in Canmore, Alberta, and her name was Timberline. And I just love this bear. I never saw her. I just knew she was there because we had a collar on her, and we could see on the tracking every day that how she was moving around the town site, never getting in trouble with people. And then one year in her mid-20s, she decided to have cubs, and she came out with these beautiful little cubs. And then unfortunately, she started coming into the Nordic Center and hanging a little bit closer to where people were, probably trying to avoid large males that might have tried to mate with her or kill her cubs. And unfortunately, people had their dogs off leash in the Nordic Center, and she ended up getting chased by a dog off leash and getting very protective of her cubs. And she ended up attacking a dog and bluff charging at the people. And then she became extremely defensive. And even if a dog was on a leash walking in the provincial park, she would charge at it and try to get it to leave. So she became a threat to other dogs because of her experience, and they had to relocate her. And in the process of relocating her, they accidentally dropped one of her cubs fell. It fell from a tree and it died. And then they relocated her, and then unfortunately they found her collar a while later, and she had also died. And we don't know what killed her. If she was poached, it's possible she was hit by a car. It was quite a bit later on, so it was hard to tell. So unfortunately, she lost her life because of somebody obviously having their dog off leash in a place that wasn't really appropriate. Bear attacks related to dogs, unfortunately, are increasing, and I'll share some stats with you here in a second. Bears who attack dogs and people are often killed. That's often unfortunately what happens, because wildlife officials are worried that that bears will then be perceived, they'll perceive dogs as a food source. We don't have any science to back that up, and they also believe that they may perceive them as a threat. And certainly we've had some cases of a bear feeling like it feels threatened when another dog shows up. And then if we look at the statistics, about half the time when people get attacked by large carnivores, they're wrong place, wrong time, right? It's just an accidental thing. But there's the other 50% is what we call risk enhancing behaviors. And that's when we're doing something that's putting ourselves into harm's way. So children left unattended in carnivore country is a big no-no because they can be perceived as vulnerable. And you can see the second one down from this is dog presence while walking. And this is number one cause of dogs, one of the major causes of attacks on human beings in Canada and the United States. And we're seeing certainly an increasing number of cases involving black bears with cubs and dogs off leash. And I've seen cases here in Canada. I've been seeing more and more cases in the US. And it's something that we've got to be more aware of, that unfortunately our wonderful dogs being off leash unfortunately can lead to some pretty serious incidents involving us getting hurt, and of course our dogs getting hurt too. This is Dr. Stephen Herrero. He is my hero, and he is now retired, but he is a world-renowned bear biologist. And one of his studies on bear attacks, he found that 92 bear attacks he analyzed between 2010 and 2014. More than half of the attacks involved dogs, and mostly with dogs being off leash, and then the owner getting attacked. So we're definitely seeing more and more of that. And then Janelle Scharhag, she did a study in the lower 48 in the United States looking at black bear attacks in particular, and between 2000 and 2017, and she found that 52% of attacks by black bears were defensive, and 15% were predatory, and 33% were other. So some of those were food-seeking behavior, where a bear would come into a campground, attack a person, and then steal their food, and then run away. So it wasn't that they wanted to hurt the person, but they really wanted their food. So they attacked them to get access to it. The defensive attacks were, a lot of them involved a female bear with young and a dog off leash. The predatory attacks were mainly male bears, and the other attacks were actually also mainly male bears seeking food. And the most severe attacks were on dog owners that fought back in a defensive attack. And a lot of the old bear safety information says if it's a black bear, fight back in all situations. And that is not true. So definitely take one of our bear safety courses, because we teach what's called a behavioral based approach. We look at the species to some degree, but we mainly look at what is the situation am I in? Have I just surprised a bear at close range? Does the bear have cubs with it? Does it have a food source? Have I startled it? Or is this bear that is sneaking up on me, stalking me? It's quiet, it's perceiving me as food. So you really need to identify what the situation is and the behavior of the animal, and then decide what to do. And unfortunately, people who lay down people who fought back in a defensive encounter with black bears that had cubs that were feeling defensive, they were severely injured until they stopped moving. The people that went right to the ground and dropped to the ground and played dead, they had much less injuries. So it's something that we really need to be aware of, and that's why it's so important to learn all about bear safety and what to do in these different situations. There have been some recent unfortunate attacks. I know we've got one of our friends is on here from Colorado, and I'm sure it was quite devastating news for them when they heard. So May 2022, a woman in Durango was found dead after an apparent bear attack. She had gone for a walk with her dogs, and just off leash, we assume, and unfortunately her dogs came home, but she never did. And her husband went out to look for her, and unfortunately found that she had passed, and she had been attacked by a bear. And it turned out to be a female black bear with a yearling cub, and that whole family was taken off the landscape. They were killed. In October of 2019, there was a hiker in Canmore, Alberta, and there are many more cases than this. I'm just pulling a couple cases from different places. In Canmore, dog off leash, dog ran at a bear, and then the bear came running back and attacked the hiker. And then, of course, he was fined, and the fine was $115. And then in April of 2023, as I was just saying at the start there, we had two hikers with two dogs off leash encounter a black bear on the trail in Jasper National Park. The dog, unfortunately, one of the dogs was killed, and the officers went out later and located the bear, and then shot the bear as well. So safety tips for dog owners. This little sweet thing, Claire, she helps me with safety videos sometimes. I should really share her video. It's so darn cute. She's like, put your dog on a leash. It's so cute. And so walking your dog on a leash, I know it's a pain, especially if you're like, I've never walked my dog on a leash. I want my dog to have exercise. I get it, right? A lot of us have already got habits that are formed. For me, I was working in bear safety before I ever was a dog owner. And so knowing so much as I do about this stuff, I just didn't want to risk my dog. And so it was easy for me to learn to leash train my dog and always have her on a leash. Now, obviously, there are off-leash parks. There are sometimes big open landscapes where you could be, and it's potentially a good area to have your dog off leash, but you are risking it if you are in bear habitat, in carnivore habitat, that you could have an encounter. If you have a reactive dog, please consider either leaving your dog at home or going out in a group. And the reason why I say that is if you're in a group and you have a bear encounter and there's like this bear like drooling, foaming at the mouth, huffing and puffing, chuffing, you surprised at close range, it's the defensive bear, and your dog is like lunging, like, I want to get to this bear, right? You're going to be full on just trying to deal with your dog and try to keep your dog under control, trying to get out your bear spray and also deal with this animal in front of you. Like, that's a lot to deal with in mere seconds. And so if you can bring people with you, then you can say, look, if we run into a bear or another carnivore, I'm going to manage my dog, you guys manage the bear. And that way you can kind of back up with your dog, deal with your dog, maybe start just shoving treats in their mouth, like, come on, it's okay, just eat these treats, right? That's what I do with my dog if she sees another dog. And then the other people then can go in front, talk to the bear, get out their bear spray, and deal with the situation in front of them. So I generally will not go hiking with Gabby, my dog, in bear country by myself, because I know that she is 75 pounds and she would drag me all the way right up to that bear if she could, and it would be very hard for me to deal with it. Another tip that I really want to tell you about is waist leashes. If you can manage your dog on a waist leash with a bit of a spring, that can be another way to make it easier for you to deal with a bear encounter. That way you can just grab onto that leash. You've already got it on your waist. You can get your bear spray out and you can still manage your dog. And at least you've got some hold on the dog while you're managing and trying to deal with the bear in front of you, and you can get out your bear spray. Because let me tell you, trying to get a hold of your dog and also deal with bear spray is really hard. So I'm a big fan of waist leashes because of that. Do try to avoid trails when there are bear warnings, because why get yourself in trouble? And do try to avoid hiking at night and early morning, because carnivores are more active as the sun is rising and as the sun is setting. They're out there hunting, and they're also not expecting as much activity of humans, so it's a lot easier to surprise them. So try to avoid that when you are out with your dog. And then lastly, you can see we're really big on these scat belts, which we're going to give away today. And they're a holster that you can put your bear spray in, and you just literally can wear them around your waist. So it's easy just to pull out. So ensuring that everyone in your group has their own can of bear spray is so important, because let's say you get attacked, your friends, your family are standing there going, well, she had the bear spray. What are we going to do now? Right? So making sure everyone's got their own can. Carry treats to distract your dog. Train your dog so that if there are things that distract it, it is reactive, that that you can at least just start shoving treats in their mouth while the situation is getting handled. Rehearse with your group how to handle a bear encounter, how we're going to handle the scenario, and so that you can manage your dog and other people can manage the bear. And honestly, ask yourself this question. If I had an encounter by myself with a grizzly with 2 cubs and she started bluff charging at me, running back and forth, and my dog is running around off leash, could I really handle this? Could I live with the fact that my dog could be killed in front of me? Could I live with or not live with the fact that I could get myself mauled here in this situation? So I know we don't want to believe that these things can happen to ourselves. I get it. I don't want to believe it either. But we have to be real and realistic. And if you're someone who spends a lot of time in the outdoors in bear country and you do have your dog off leash, I would really strongly encourage you to rethink this. Think about the waist leash option. Think about trying to group up and go with other people and leash your dog, and take your dog to more of the off leash parks and areas where you can kind of control the situation and let your dog get a run in or get a swim in and get that exercise that they absolutely do, of course, need. And then I think that I am done at that point. I'm going to jump out and stop my share. Sarah, does anyone have any questions related to this section of the talk? Are they like, we're here for Lisa?
Yeah, there's a couple questions. Does giving your dog treats to distract the dog make the bear more likely to come at you because they want the food or the treats?
Well, they're not used to, generally, most bears are not used to getting hand fed. And so think about when we walk around with our backpacks on, and we've always got treats in our backpacks, right? We've got our sandwiches. Bears aren't going and walking up to people and trying to attack them because they have a sandwich. And it's honestly just trying to get the behavior of your dog under control is so important, because in that moment, all that bear can think about is self-preservation. They are concerned about their safety. They are concerned about their cub safety, and they're watching your body language. They're trying to read what is going on here. Do they have to fight? Do they run away? Are you a bigger bear than them? What are we going to do here? And there are mere seconds for this stuff to get decided on. And so it's not a major concern. It's really honestly one of the best ways to kind of manage for what you're dealing with in front of you, so you can make it so that at least your dog is not going, I want to eat you, especially if you're dealing with a defensive bear, because you're trying to back away and be submissive and give this bear space. And if your dog is lunging at it, then the bear is going to think that you want to fight. So you want to distract your dog from that behavior.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. This is a really good question. Bragg Creek is off leash, but black bears are around. Does this mean that I need to keep my dog on a leash?
That's such a great question. So we do have black bears in Bragg Creek. We do have grizzly bears in Bragg Creek. We've had numerous cases over the years of grizzlies coming in and definitely breaking into people's garages. We've had them kill livestock, people's like pets as well. So absolutely in Bragg Creek, both species, black bears and grizzly bears. You might have missed the earlier part here. We are seeing a rising number of cases of people getting attacked involving black bears with cubs. And there are a whole bunch of black bears with cubs that are running around right now. And especially first-time mothers are highly defensive. And if they do have an encounter with your dog off leash, absolutely, you could end up with your dog getting attacked or you getting attacked, or both of you. Yeah, great question.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's do maybe one more and then we'll get Lisa so that she has time to do her talk. And then at the end, we some more.
Okay, awesome.
What is the best way to find out about bear warnings or sightings, up-to-date sightings?
Go onto the website for that park. So if it is, let's say, a national park, usually you can just go look up that particular national park and then just look up like warnings or closures. Sometimes you can call their information center and find out where the warning and closures are. It sucks when you get to the trailhead and you're so excited and then you see the sign up and you're like, oh no, it's closed, or there's a bear warning, bear with cubs in area. Like, no, thank you. So do try to look that information up before you go. Most government agencies are trying to get that information out there. So it is a good idea, of course, always to check before you go out onto the trails. I do also notice someone's asking about deer killing dogs, and it is unfortunately a really big issue in some communities. Down in Kimberley, British Columbia, they've had numerous dogs trampled to death by deer, protecting their young. So, and even just protecting themselves. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Oh yeah, elk calving season. Oh my gosh, the number of dogs that get attacked by female elk, it's crazy. Just trampling, they go crazy on them. So yeah. Yeah. And definitely. It is of course elk calving season. So thanks for that reminder. Thanks, Christina. Okay, I will stop talking. Sarah, would you like to do the lovely introduction of our illustrious guest, please?
Yes, thank you, Kim. That was great. All right, well, without further ado, this is Lisa from the Southern Alberta Canine First Aid, and I will pass it off to you, Lisa. Thank you for being here.
Perfect. They told me that there was going to be 3 people, so I'm a little bit stressed, so that's all right. I'm Lisa. I am the owner of Southern Alberta Canine First Aid. I spent 10 years of my life in the emergency medical field. And then COVID happened, and the idea of saving a life in a 9x9 box, fully gowned, with a mask on was not my idea of a good time. So I had a baby, also not a good time. So in about May of 2021, I think, my daughter's dog, in the span about of a year, was kicked in the face by a horse, jumped off a 16-foot mezzanine, ate rat poison, jumped out of the box of the truck, and then she was also hit by a car. Did I say that one? I think so. No? Okay, so I'm not a bad dog owner. My dog is just really bad. So I reached out to Canine Health Canada, and they had me start right away. I've now very quickly become the top trainer in Canada and the US for Canine Health Canada. I'm just getting rides brought in, so my dogs are like, let me out. So I grew very, very quickly. I have 2 of my working canines in here. The big one right here is Diesel. So he's a protection dog and a drug detection dog. And then Siren is in the background, and she is a drug detection and a search and rescue dog. She's currently retired. So not that she's coming out of it, but she is currently retired. So we have a couple things to talk about today. First of all, I have classes all over Canada. I have 7 trainers that work for me. So if you are somewhere that you think we may not teach because my name is Southern Alberta Canine First Aid, that is not the case. I have a trainer in New Brunswick. I have a trainer in Ontario. I have one in Saskatchewan. I have 3 of myself and then another 2 trainers here in Alberta with me that cover BC. And then of course, if you want us to come out to your area, we will do that if we have a big enough class to come. We are coming to PEI also in June. So just because of our name, don't be discouraged that we're not going to come to you. We definitely will come and teach you guys. We also have Canine Health Canada instructors all over Canada and the US. So if you want us, great. If you just want to reach out to a Canine Health Canada instructor, you can do that also. So I have a few things that we're going to talk about. First of all, it's going to be your environmental hazards. Roles and responsibility as being a handler. Whether you are a certified handler or not, if you have a dog, you are a canine handler. We're going to talk about temporary muzzling, the 3 Bs, stings, and tick bites. Then we're going to talk about shock and what it is. And then we're going to, Diesel, get into talking about bleeding. So these are all going to be really quick. And then of course, if you guys have any questions, you can reach out to the girls or you can follow us on Facebook. So first of all, thanks Kim for saying about having your dog on a leash. Now I know it's super inconvenient for you guys, but it's also super inconvenient for your dog. Okay. They are wanting to chase things. So you need to make sure that your dog is on a leash. People say to me all the time, well, that's not mentally stimulating to my dog. Okay, well, that's fine, but my 165-pound King Shepherd can chase me on a quad for 16 kilometers and he's not going to be tired. But if I do 15 minutes of drug detection work with that dog, he's going to be exhausted. So as much as you think that having them run free on a trail is good for them because it's working their brain, it's actually more working your brain if you have them on your side and you are working on basic obedience with them. So that's the first thing that we teach in every class is having basic obedience. And the second one is conditioning your dog to accept treatment from you. So in my class, we teach casting, and people will say to me, Lisa, there's no way that this little stuffed IKEA golden retriever dog is going to lay here and let, my dog's not going to lay like this dog. Okay, I understand that, but I can guarantee you that if Diesel ever broke his leg out on a trail, he would lay there with me because I have conditioned him to accept that treatment from me, which means I cast my dog from anywhere from 3 times to once a week. And I will continue to do that as long as my dogs are alive, because if they are in a certain amount of pain and they do have a broken bone, I want them to know that no matter what, if I'm there to treat them, they need to trust me. And you cannot treat that or teach your dog that out on a trail. So it is not a time on a trail to start teaching your dogs this. You need to do it as soon as you jump off the Zoom. Okay, because these dogs need to know that when you are there to help them, that's what you're there to do. Environmental hazards for our dogs, it's going to be hot and cold. Obviously, if it's too hot, don't take your dogs out there. If it's too cold, it's the same thing, especially running through rivers and creeks and stuff like that. You're going to end up either with heat stroke or you're going to end up with hypothermia, so hyper or hypo. So those are big ones that we talk about. Watching for signs. I know that out here in Alberta, when we go hiking, it says that the trail has been sprayed for weeds. Okay, you need to be paying very close attention to that, especially if you decide that you're not going to have your dog on leash, because they're super, super toxic to dogs. Even sniffing it can cause a poisonous reaction in your dog. So those are big ones to watch for. Stool, so other dogs and other animals. Lots of dogs, when they eat poop, people will tell me, well, my dog's just disgusting. Actually, that's not the case. First of all, your dog is looking for something in that other animal's poop, whether the dog is lacking something or that animal has actually left something behind. So if your dog is eating another dog's poop, but that dog doesn't have all its vaccinations, and all of a sudden that dog has parvo or whatever kind of disease, guess who's getting it? It's going to be your dog. Okay. Even if say a perfect example is a bear's been eating poisonous berries and they don't digest it fully and they poop it out and your dog eats it. Well, I'm sorry, but now your dog's got whatever that bear got into and now you're in trouble. Okay, so those are a couple ones. And then garbage, I mean, we try very hard everywhere to make sure that garbage is picked up. But it happens that it doesn't. So if they're getting into garbage out on a trail and there's a sandwich and there's onion and garlic in it, those are toxic to dogs. Okay, those are big hazards. What are other ones? Diesel, grapes. One grape will kill your dog. It'll send it into kidney failure. Lots of people think that it's just a joke that, oh, I gave my dog a grape or he got into grape. Well, one grape on a 30-pound dog is going to kill it. Now on a 165-pound dog, maybe not, but a little dog, it definitely is going to. Roles and responsibilities. I'm going through this really quick. So if you guys need me to slow down, just let me know. So roles and responsibilities for a first aider is, I know when a bear is coming at you, the last thing you want to do is remain calm, but you're going to set your dog off because your dog functions on your level of anxiety. So if you can keep yourself calm, your dog is also going to back off a little bit too and not be so hyped up. Okay. I will show you restraint for dogs. I don't like when anybody goes hiking by themselves, especially as a medic who worked out in Canmore. We go to calls all the time. It's terrifying. So we really do want you to hike in pairs. And not only that, but when you're with your dog, I'm going to show you how to restrain your dog. But if you're the only person there and you're restraining your dog from the bear or trying to fix them from a bear attack or a bleeding wound, how are you going to do that if you're by yourself? Okay, so I'm going to see, I have my dogs in here and they are dogs. So we're going to hope like heck that they participate with me, but I will try one. And if one doesn't work, I will try the other. So we'll try the young one first. And then let me know, maybe if Kim or Sarah, if you can't see, if you want to just jump on and let me know. So safe restraining of a large dog. No. There you go. Come on. Is underneath their bellies. Come here, buddy. Underneath their bellies and underneath their necks. Okay, this way, Siren, you're right in the way. Come on. Move. That's so nice. Yeah, thank you. Can you save that for later? Move. Okay. Underneath their bellies and underneath their heads. Can you guys see it okay?
Can you just move forward a little tad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There. Is that better? There we go. Okay, so underneath their bellies and their neck. The reason being is if somebody else is looking at Diesel right now, but he's in a ton of pain, I can at least keep his head back so he's not going to swing around and bite them. Okay, and then with a small dog, it's just going to be underneath the belly and you're going to grab their muzzle and hold it away. Okay, I have a really great vet out here in Nanton, but I think he's scared of my dogs because they're so big. So he always asks me to restrain them properly for him. So those are good things to know. Wow. I'm not sure how many people in here actually carry that thing. There we go. I'm not sure how many people in here actually carry a muzzle for their dog. If you guys want to write a comment so I know if you do carry a muzzle or you don't, that would be great. Everybody can just like write a quick yes or no. Do not. No, no, no. Ah, you guys are scaring me. Still working on muzzle training. That's awesome. No, lots of notes. I have one, but I don't carry it. Okay, that's good to know. You don't need to carry a muzzle. Okay, because if you have a leash, if you have a first aid kit, if you have a scarf, if you have a belt, which I don't love, but in an emergency you can use it, you have a muzzle for these dogs. Okay, perfect. Leash muzzle, I just saw that. Perfect. So I don't have a leash in here with me, but I do have a roll of gauze, so I'm going to show you. Now, the things you need to remember when muzzling your dogs is that you don't do it if you've done nose-to-mouth resuscitation. You cannot do it if their nose had bled. You cannot muzzle a brachycephalic dog. So that is any dog that has a smushed in face. So a Boston, a pug, a boxer, a Frenchie, anything that already has breathing issues, you can't restrict their breathing. And then of course, if the dog has thrown up, you can't do that either. So Siren's probably a better candidate for this. She's a little bit better. So in our first aid kits, we have gauze rolls. In the dog first aid kits in your own, you should have one of those. So you're just going to unroll this a little bit. Come on, Mama. Okay, I guess Diesel's going to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unroll this gauze a little bit. I'm going to go over top of his nose, cross underneath his nose, and then I'm going to tie it in behind. I'm going to move this. He's being a bit of a dork about it. Okay, and then I'm going to tie it in behind his head. The reason being is this may not look like it's super secure, which you could argue fine. But what it actually stops him from doing is crocodiling his mouth and snapping down on you. So he can breathe and he can pant, but what he can't do when it's tied up behind him is open his mouth fully to bite down. Yeah, you could use a halty. Yeah, just making sure it's tied. We want it tied in the occipital bone in the back of the dog's head. The reason being, if they start to shake or they start to pull, they can choke themselves, okay? So making sure it's tied up at the back, making sure it's firm but not super tight. And then basically anything that you have in a first aid kit that is long, you can use. I would really love if Siren would participate because it's so much easier with her. She actually watches. I'll do it one more time here so you guys can see. Come on, Mama. Yeah. Oh, you go again. Sit. Sit. Thank you. Okay, so I am going to go over top of her face. I cross it underneath her nose and I tie it up at the back. So you can see her here that she has a muzzle. Now she can open her mouth and she can try and move if she wants to, but she can't open her mouth fully to bite right down on me, which is essentially what we're trying to avoid. They're good pups. They're dying in here. It's super hot in here right now. Temporary muzzling, we did that. Perfect. Okay, next is shock. I'm going to tell a little bit of a backstory quickly. When Roulette got hit by a car, I might let these guys out because it's really hot. So I had gone with my sister to a parade. Roulette is terrified of thunder. She snuck out from underneath our fence. She got hit by a car and dragged with a trailer down our road about 2.5 kilometers. And she would have died. Honestly, she would have died if it wasn't because of Siren. So Siren was the second dog that I used here. What Siren did was she jumped out of our 6-foot fence. She picked Roulette up. She jumped back inside of our 6-foot fence with Roulette and she laid on top of her for 3 hours until I got home. So essentially what she did was keep Roulette's body warm and to stop it from going into shock. So shock's going to happen from broken bones, from birthing puppies, from bleeding, any sort of emergency. And I like to explain it to my classrooms as when you go to throw up, you get really hot before you throw up. And then after you throw up, your body gets super cold. And that's essentially what the dog is happening to the dog. So when shock sets in, the blood flow is all going to wherever the emergency is and not continuing through the rest of the body. The shock is going to kill your dog before the actual emergency that had happened. So you need to make sure when you are hiking, if you can pack like a little hypothermic blanket, or if all you have is a jacket or a sweater or a coat. And while this emergency is happening, the first thing that you do is cover that dog. Okay, because they need to stay warm. Signs of shock would be pale white gums, faint but rapid heart rates, rapid breathing, dropping in temperature, and then hot and cold spots in the body. Now, if you don't think that on this 165-pound dog that I can feel a hot and cold spot, I absolutely can. Okay, so those are things that you're looking for in that. And then the first aid for that is that you need to treat the emergency that is happening to the dog. I always tell my class, make sure you cover them first if you can, because that's the biggest one, is trying to keep them warm, allow the blood to go to where the emergency was instead of trying to keep the rest of the dog warm. Monitor their vital signs, and you always need to go to the vet. I am not a vet and I am not a vet tech. Basically what I am teaching people in my class is to take your dog from any emergency, be their ambulance, and get them to the vet. Okay, so that will be shock. The 3 B's in your dog are always breathing, bleeding, and body. So if your dog is not breathing, you need to do nose to mouth resuscitation and CPR for them. And you need to take care of any bleeding emergency if there is no breathing emergency. And then third, you need to do their body. So their nose to tail survey. We teach you hands-on in our classroom how to do all of their vitals, take their heart rate, their breathing, check their temperature, check their capillary refills, which are their gums. We teach all of that. What else is in here? So those are the big ones. So the reason why I had categorized it into shock and then the 3 B's is because once we get to bleeding, you're going to figure out how we put it all together. Now I'm going to get into tick bites and snakes real quick, and then we'll go into a bleeding emergency with you guys, and I will show you the 3 B's and then the clean clot and cover with my dogs. So tick bites are big, especially in Alberta. I'm pretty sure, I think the people in Regina, when they sat in my class, laughed at me because I was like, if your dog gets one tick bite, you need to take them to the vet. And they were like, girl, do you know how many tick bites we have out here? Like, my dog's been bit already 20 times in one day. And I was like, this place is disgusting. I'm not coming back here in the spring or the summer. I'm only coming when it's -30. So thank you for that. Rubbing alcohol. We put it in every single one of our first aid kits. And the reason being is because you spray or pour rubbing alcohol onto that tick and it's going to kill it. Okay. Lots of the times what will happen is when you spray it on the tick will actually back out. I will have people in my classrooms that say, yeah, but when the tick backs out, it's going to regurgitate everything into stomach right back into the dog. Well, guess what? Your dog's already been bit by the tick, so it doesn't matter. You're taking the dog to the vet anyways. So using the rubbing alcohol, if they don't back out, then you're going to use your tick key or tweezers, get the dog out. I don't love the tweezers only because I can't guarantee when I take that tick out that the entire body of that tick is still attached. So it could be leaving its fangs, it could be leaving its claws, it could be leaving things like that. Now, not only are you dealing with a tick bite, but you are also dealing with an infection in your dog. Okay, so those are a couple things on the ticks. Always put your tick in a sealed container. Always take it to the vet, whether I think you should take the dog and get it tested anyways, but you need to take the tick there because they're going to, I know here in Alberta, they're going to test the tick for Lyme disease and then they're going to report it to the Alberta government. And it actually shows on a map where all of the ticks are. Now I'm in Southern Alberta, which means when it is 30 degrees in Calgary, it's like 48 out here. We don't actually have ticks. But the big one is to make sure that you're taking them in, getting them tested and make sure that that the vets are checking to make sure that it doesn't have Lyme disease or some other disease. So those are the big ones on ticks. Bringing it back to making sure your dog is on a leash. You cannot guarantee that that dog is not going to be romping through the forest and gets bit by a snake. And now you're 6 hours up in elevation and your dog is poisoned by a snake. You could probably see it if the snake was right at your feet and your dog was running right beside you, but not if they're out and about. So signs for snake bites are overexcitement and lethargic. Is it not hot enough in here for you? Trembling or convulsions, collapse, unable to stand, excessive drooling and gray gums, and then a very fast pulse. So what you need to do in those is immobilize your dog as much as possible, okay? Get them to stop moving. Most times when they get bit by a snake, it's going to be on their legs. Keep the leg lower than the heart. You can apply an ice pack, and then you can wrap like a vet wrap or a gauze around it. It's going to coagulate the blood and slow down the poison transfer throughout the dog's body. There is a lot of questions happening right now, and I'm like, oh goodness, I can't answer all those yet.
No worries. I'll keep track. I'll keep track of questions. Okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so apply the ice pack, keep the leg lower than the heart to slow the spread, and you guys need to get to the vet. Now, I recommend also if you guys are out hiking is that you guys locate a company that will sell you a single handler dog lift. Essentially what it is like a big blanket and there's 4 holes in it. You're gonna get your dog to put its legs through those 4 holes and you're gonna sling it over top of your back and you're able to carry the dog down. Okay, if anybody wants to know the link that we use, I'll find it and I'll give it to either Kim or Fido Pro. Thank you, Christina. That is exactly who it is. So it's Fido Pro and they are really, really, really good slings. But I recommend it even as a handler, we carry them on us all the time just in case something happens to our dogs. And then bleeding. So I will give you some info that's just out of our manual. I'm going to read it right out of here. Then I am going to give you like a statistic of a dog. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you kind of how to handle it. So there are 3 types of bleeding. There's external minor. So external bleeding that is not excessive, not spurting, contains no clear sticky fluid, and is not from a wound larger than a thumb's length long would be considered minor. It's really up to you guys if you want to get it stitched or if you want to get it seen. Then there's external major. So external bleeding that is excessive is spurting, contains clear sticky fluid that is going to be joint fluid from the dog, is from a very large wound, would be considered major. spurting blood means an artery has been cut and this bleeding must be stopped or the dog will die. And then lastly, we have internal bleeding. So all internal bleeding is considered life-threatening and your dog should be seen immediately. If you know or suspect that they have encountered a fall or a car accident or a livestock kick, that would result in internal bleeding. So before I show you what you're going to do, especially if a bear gets your dog, is I'm going to read you a statistic that is in our manual. So every dog has an average of 86 milliliters of blood per kilogram, so 1/3 of a cup per 2.2 pounds. So a 40-pound dog, like a border collie, is going to have roughly 13 cups of blood in its entire body. That is not a lot of blood. Your dog can lose 2 teaspoons of blood before going into shock, and a 40-pound dog can only lose 1.6 cups of blood before they are at risk of death, which means you need to be quick. I teach a lot of police canine handlers, and I'm basically going to show you guys what we do when we teach the police canine handlers, and now that we even teach in our classes. First thing, especially with the boys that have, or the girls, sorry, that have all their equipment on, you need to take it off. Okay, so take off your backpack. For our members, we always say, like, take off your vest, take off your jacket, take off your sweater. And they'll look really confused at me as to why I'm asking that. And once I get into clean, clot, and cover, you'll probably understand a little bit more. But essentially, what we want you to do is to clot that wound. So you need to apply pressure, hold that wound. Christina, I like you. She needs some practice. So you're going to hold that wound. Now, once you apply pressure to a wound, you do not let it go. So when we're teaching members, we say to them, we want you to take everything off, because we don't want you applying this pressure and then all of a sudden being like, oh crap, my uniform coat is covered in blood. And now I need to take my vest off, and I need to take my shirt off, and I need to take my sweater off in order to have more material to cover this. And I'm like, but you've already let go of the wound in order to get all of this stuff off. Okay, so you need to make sure that you take all of this stuff off first, whether you just are in a tank top or whatever the case may be. So the big ones with clean, clot, and cover is, obviously, if it's a bear attack, you guys aren't going to be cleaning this. Okay, so we're going to go straight to clot and cover. I always have clot cloths, so we just have rags from our shop in, so we always have those in the car. But the gauze will work just fine. But clothing really is the best to have for that. So Diesel is laying here semi-nicely. I'm going to see if I can move him a little bit. There we go. Okay, so once you apply the pressure, you are not to take it off. Okay, so I will show you kind of here, but essentially what we do is we're going to put one layer, apply pressure. Now, once this is completely saturated in blood, you need to add another layer. So you're going to lift your hand and slide another one underneath. I have not removed my hand, and I have not taken the cloth underneath off. I have simply just lifted my hand to add another layer onto it. Hi, how's it going? Oh, can you play dead? Oh, this is exhausting, Mom. Okay, so I have, nope, that's 9. We're not playing, stay. Okay, so he's got a big wound right here. I am going to bunch this up a bit and apply pressure to him, okay? I'm going to hold as much pressure as I can. And then while this is getting saturated, I can take his pulse, his heart rate by his leg. I can watch his breathing. I can check his capillary refills. Or I can have somebody else doing that. Now, while this is getting saturated in blood, it's completely covered in blood, I'm just going to lift up my hand and I'm going to add another one underneath. And I'm going to hold that. Okay, and then if you can, if there's some way to transport him, if there's some way to get more help for him, that's great. We don't like tourniquets anymore, especially for dogs. So if you think that tourniqueting your dog, good boy, is going to work, we don't like that, because a human tourniquet is not built for the dog. So you're still going to have blood flow going through, and really the main one is just doing clean clot cover with them, and try and get them gathered or try and get some help. Even if you can get them into a sling and have somebody still applying pressure for them. The bleeding is the biggest one, is that they just don't have a ton of blood. to let go of. So we need to get it clotted right away. I don't know what else you guys, if there's anything else you want. I have 130 pages, and I said to Sarah that if you guys don't stop me, I'm just going to teach a 7-hour class while you all sit here and watch me, which is really lucky for you guys. So I think that's Kim.
Oh my gosh, Lisa, I'm terrified now, and I feel like a really bad dog mom.
No, you're not a bad. Listen, what did I just tell you? Like my dog, I have to tell this story. We have a riding arena, and we have this 16-foot mezzanine on the top of the riding arena, and this dog, I should almost bring her in here because she's like missing 2 teeth or 6 teeth, and she's just like a disaster. Like, oh, and her name's Roulette, which is the worst because everybody's like, why would you name her Roulette? Anyway, so she saw a gopher, and the rest of the dogs took the stairs, and she literally slid underneath the 16-foot mezzanine and kapowie right off the deck. And I was like, I just looked at my husband. I was like, I can't watch this. So you just let me know if she's still at the bottom. And he's like, well, she's in the middle of the field right now chasing her. So I don't know. She's crazy. She's so crazy. You're not a bad dog mom. I am a bad dog mom, I think.
Neither of you are bad dog moms. Are you good to take a couple questions, Lisa?
Yeah, you betcha.
Okay. Can we go back to the muzzle for a second?
Yeah.
Is that just if your dog is injured, you don't want them to bite you, so you just put the muzzle on before you treat them?
Yeah. Especially in bleeding instances, impalements are big ones. You don't want the dog to bite you. Okay. My dogs are great dogs. They are my partners. They are so much more than just a pet to me. Siren saved my life. Like, they show you 2% of their pain. And if they're only showing you 2%, you can only imagine what they're actually going through. And you just cannot risk the fact that they're not going to bite you. And even Roulette, when Roulette had been hit by a car, I had to do CPR and nose to mouth resuscitation to her. I'm a medic, and I was like, how do you do this to a dog? Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And ended up getting her back, and I put her in the car, and I got to the vet, and my vets, oh, they're so amazing. They said to the office staff, go get a muzzle for this dog because she's trying to bite me. She wasn't trying to bite me, but she definitely was trying to bite them. And by the time Maria had run to the back of the vet clinic and tried to find a muzzle that would fit her, I had wrapped Roulette's leash around just the way I showed you, and I had her laying on the surgical table before Maria had even found one that had fit her. So, I mean, there's so many instances where it's so helpful. But yeah, it really is so that you don't get bit, so people around you don't get bit. And I mean, unless you've done nose to mouth resuscitation or any of those things that I listed, they can be muzzled in an emergency.
Awesome. Thank you. How do you check your dog for ticks? Like, where, like someone was mentioning they're so furry, like how would you even know if there is a tick there at all?
Another thing that we teach is like conditioning your dog to accept treatment. So every night when my dogs come in, and like, I mean, I don't know how many dogs people have, but I have 4 dogs, and I have 3 of them that are double coated dogs. And essentially just what I do is, at the end of the day, they're so tired from everything that we've done. It's just, you can feel them. So main spots are going to be on their legs, in their ears. I put a post out on Facebook the other day that had something like 200 shares. Check their mouths. They're going to climb up into their gums. And so many people are like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So it's on there. Pads of their feet. But really what I do is I kind of grab like Diesel's fur, and I just rub. Okay. If it feels like there's something in his coat, which he has like a sticky thing right here, you're going to feel it, but don't leave it. Nope. Good boy. I really go down to where his skin is, and I feel for things that are further down in the coat. And really, even with the double coated dogs, you can really feel. And now if you're doing this every day, maybe you miss a tick by one day, but the next day you feel it in a different spot that maybe your fingers didn't swipe through yesterday. It could be there.
Awesome. Thank you. With regard to the snake bites, I think you mentioned something about gray gums.
So there's a lot of things that their gums will tell you. Siren, come. So what we teach is checking their capillary refills. So on humans, we check it by your fingers to see how fast you're. Wow. Oh, the other dog's in here. That's his problem. Siren. And then in your dogs, it's going to be inside of their mouths. So leave it. Leave it. Kevin, get out. Out. Get out. Out. I know you want to be home. Get out. Okay, so inside of her mouth, she's got a little pink spot here. What I'm going to do to check her capillary refills is push on this pink spot, and it should go from pink to white straight back to pink. So a dog's gums are going to tell you a lot of things. Anytime that their gums are gray, it's a poison. Anytime that they are blue or purple, they're choking or they have low oxygen. If they're bright red, in heat stroke, that's just the beginning of heat stroke, but as their body starts to go into shock, they're going to turn white.
Okay. Good information. Thank you. And did you say something about children's liquid Benadryl for treatment?
No, I didn't. So
okay.
There's kind of a back and forth thing. I always explain that you could line up 16 doctors and you could ask them all the same question. They're all going to have a different diagnosis for you. In my medical experience, we love the children's Benadryl. It's a little bit harder now because they're putting xylitol in it. And I'm going to give you a free piece out of my class that they have changed the name of xylitol to birch sugar. So a birch tree, they've changed the name from xylitol to birch sugar because so many people stopped buying products that had xylitol in it. And they're like, but we want to put this in because it really, whatever, helps coagulate the peanut butter or whatever the case may be, or adds the flavor. But people have stopped buying it. So they've changed the name. So there's xylitol inside of kids or the children's Benadryl. I know at my vet that they will like just mix up a Benadryl, kind of a compound for the dogs, and then it has quite a bit of a shelf life. The reason why we want the Benadryl in the liquid versus the pill form is that they all have the drowsy effect to them. The liquid children's drowsy effect is going to be less than an adult pill form. So what's going to happen, especially like in a bee sting, the dog is going to go into anaphylactic shock, but you're going to jam a pill down its form for an adult or a dosage that's going to make them sleepy. You are going to miss the anaphylaxis behind it. Okay, so the dog is going to look drowsy with the adult Benadryl. So with the kids, because there's a less of the sleepy effect or whatever that main ingredient is, it's not going to portray as much as a drowsiness in the dog. So we do want you to use children's Benadryl.
Okay. Probably last question before we do the giveaways, but someone mentioned that they were hiking with their dog in BC and their dog ingested marijuana on two separate occasions, and they had to take to vet emerge. And I guess they're just wondering how to prevent it, or is there anything you can do to kind of avoid this situation?
I'm gonna go to my tickle trunk. You just have to give me 1 second to get to my tickle trunk and grab my stuff, and then I will come back.
Okay. Tickle trunk.
My sister's gonna kill me because she does all my inventory, and I just like reached in the bottom of the bucket and went like this. So she's gonna have to put the box back together before we go teach in Titchener Creek next weekend. Narcan, my friends. Okay, there is absolutely no reason why you cannot get this from a pharmacy. Now, canine handlers like myself, the drug detection dogs, we have IM, so intramuscular. You can get an IM Narcan. You can also get the nasal one. It is the same dosage that you would give a human to the dog. Now, the reason why we carry the intramuscular one is because a dog having a reaction to drugs, this is almost impossible to get in their nose. If you have this, you can use it, but I would get the IM one. The big one with the IM is you need to make sure that you mix the liquid with the powder before you give it. Basically, you can just stick it into the dog. By no means am I a vet, so if you have more questions about this, you guys need to ask your vet. I'm just giving up the information that I know from the vets that work with us. So mix it up, stick it in a needle. You can give it to the dog, pull it back a little bit, make sure there's no blood in the syringe. If there is, relocate, pull back, no blood, then you can push it and give it to the dog, and I'll snap them out of it pretty quick. I know in Medicine Hat, and like especially with our dogs doing drug detections, like Siren's been into cocaine, like you name it, and it's scary. But if you can remember to carry these things, you should see me when I'm walking down the road. I've got like a emergency kit on me at all times, because even when we're teaching, like we'll go down and down the street and there'll be needles. So I look kind of crazy because I have this huge kit with everything in it for my dogs.
And that was human Narcan, right? Like
yeah, it's human Narcan. So you can pick it up at any pharmacy, and you don't even have to say it's for a dog. Just say, can I have some Narcan? And they will give it to you, and it is free.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay, I know there's a lot of questions, but we do have to get to our little giveaway. Maybe if there's time later, we can ask a few more. But
you guys can message me too, and I'm like always putting stuff on our Facebook pages. So if you find the Southern Alberta Canine Facebook page, it has myself as a profile picture as well as my two dogs, and then that's our logo there. You can find us and follow us. Like we just put out a big thing about smoke and why dogs shouldn't be outside right now in Alberta while it's smoky. So we put something out pretty much every day, and then you can always message my team too, and they'll help you out.
Awesome. We'll also be sending out an email tomorrow with some discount codes for everybody that's here tonight, and cool. We can do the link to your Facebook page, Lisa.
Yeah.
So that people can find you on there. So Kim, do you want to talk about the discounts before we do the giveaway?
Oh, yes, for sure. So anyone that comes to our talks, we always like to give a discount coupon code. So if you do decide you want to take our 2-hour bear safety class and learn all about the different types of situations you can get into with bears, of course, how to avoid the encounters in the first place, but then how do you actually handle it if you're in that situation? So the website, I'm sure, as you all know, is recsafewithwildlife.com. So I just put that in the chat. And then the coupon is going to be 20% off of the course. The coupon code I haven't gone and put on the website, so give me like 30 minutes to go do that. We're going to make the coupon code Alberta K9. So if you want to go and take one of our classes, and I'll definitely go and we'll put that on the thank you email that we'll send out. And if you did have any friends that weren't able to come to tonight's class, it is recorded and it's going to go up on YouTube afterwards, so they can watch it there. Or if you want to rewatch it because you're like, oh my gosh, I have a zillion notes I need to take, and now I really do need to take a class with Lisa. Like, oh my gosh.
I know, that's what I said to Sarah. I'm like, we need to set one up for like the people in your area. I think we really need to do that.
Everywhere.
I'm trying. There's only so many of me.
My gosh, I feel like I should put a bubble wrap around my dog right now.
It's true. It's scary. Oh, Annie, you're so sweet. Annie's in Cold Lake. So if anybody's in Cold Lake, she, I think it's Training Canines with Annie. She's great. So you can go take a class with her. Like I said, I've got people everywhere. So if you want a class, you find me. I just put our Facebook page in the chat. You can find me, and on our Facebook, on our actual booking site, I think we have 69 classes that are active right now that we're trying to fill up. So Edmonton, PEI, there's like 15 in Ontario. Like, it's crazy. I've got classes everywhere. And by any means, if you feel like you can get a group together, we will come.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you. This was amazing. And so much information. Like, I love it. Like, I love
High
it.
River is incredible. June 11th, I think.
Okay.
Did you see that? Beep, beep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty fun what's happening there. All right, Sarah, do you want to do the raffle giveaway? She's already, I think, figured out who's getting the giveaways already.
Yeah. So we're giving away a few things, actually. So Lisa has donated one of her first aid classes, which is amazing. And the winner for that class is Erin Donnell. And I'm just going to say, I will just email you directly. You don't have to contact me. I have all your emails, so I will contact you. So Erin Donnell won the in-person first aid class with Lisa. Lisa also has donated a first aid kit for your dog.
Where did I put it? Oh. So there's lots of stuff in here, you guys, and we like them because they're already prepackaged. So we put vet wrap in them. We've got gauze in them. We've got a triangle bandage. Alcohol for the ticks, peroxide in case you need to make your dog grow up. Tick keys, tape, antibacterial wipes, scissors, you name it, it's in there.
Awesome. So the winner of the first aid kit is Tori Pearson. Congratulations, Tori. And there's also a hat that Lisa's giving away.
Oh, yeah. We have our Southern Alberta canine, so our logo is on there, and then it's also in the shape of Alberta, so they're kind of cool hats that we have here.
It's a sweet hat. That's amazing. I
Someone's
love
gonna
that.
get.
All right, so the winner of that is Jethro. That is the only information I have, but I have your email, so it's all good. Jethro, congratulations.
Woo, congratulations.
And then we are giving away a scat belt to a lucky winner, and that, oh, Kim is showing the scat belt there. That,
Oh yes, here.
that is
Oh gosh, it's like my dog and then the scat belt.
that is to hold your bear spray while you are hiking. So the winner of the scat belt is Elena Stone.
Congratulations, Elena. Woohoo!
And last thing that we're giving away is our 2-hour bear safety course. This is online. So the winner of our bear safety course is Andrea Greener. Andrea.
Congratulations.
I love that. I'm just standing here. I'm like, what do I say?
Congrats, everybody. And yeah, thank you so much, Lisa, for joining us this evening.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I know that we didn't get to everyone's questions, but Lisa said you can message them on their Southern Alberta Canine First Aid Facebook page. And as for bear-related questions, you can go to recsafewithwildlife.com and sign up for a free membership. And there's a little discussion forum where you can ask him all of your bear-related questions. So thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you, everyone. And we have another talk coming up after this soon.
May 25th.
Yes, that's it. May 25th.
Kim's like me, where I don't know anything. I just like smile and nod, and then my sister answers everyone.
Yeah, Sarah had to remind me, so I would be here.
I don't actually know when, so you gotta go ask somebody.
There's stuff coming up.
I don't know.
Hope you guys can make it. Hope I make it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so May 25th, we have a wildlife biologist joining us, and we're going to be talking about predator behavior. So how do bears, cougars, and wolves hunt their prey, and how do they take down their prey? So it's going to be a really interesting talk. And you can find that sign up link on our social media or our website as well.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have an amazing night. Thanks for staying a little bit later. And this was incredible. And I'm going to go hug my dog and tell her I can do better. Okay.
I'm going to go do that
too.
Better stay out of all forms of trouble for the next month.
Yes. Let's go give our dogs some love and give them what they need, which is us learning how to look after them better. Okay. Yeah. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thank you, Lisa.